After we've defined the data members and a constructor, the next logical thing to do is create a method that allows us to display the data in a class object. And there's a very standard way to do that, and that's using something called a toString method. In fact, it's so common that it's built into the language. I haven't mentioned this yet, but as an object-oriented language, C# has a built-in object called object, and all other objects inherit from the object class. In that class is a method called toString, and that toString method allows us to display whatever we want to out of a class object. Normally, it's the pieces of data stored in the data members. It doesn't have to be, but generally speaking, the toString method will display all the pieces of data in the data members. So let's look at how to implement that for our program. After the constructor, we begin the implementation of toString by writing public string, because that's the return type of the method, and then toString, and then open and close parentheses, followed by return, because it's going to return this data to the program. We're going to talk a lot more about implementing methods later in the course. For now, you're just going to have to kind of trust me on this. So we have a return first plus a space plus the middle plus space plus last to return the name in a form we can read. Now that we're finished with the definition, let's see if it works. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're going to probably get an error, but I'm doing that on purpose. So we're going to create another object. There we go. Then we want to write out the name using toString. So we call the method like so. MyName.toString. And you'll notice that, let me go back, IntelliSense should tell us what methods are available, even for an object that we've created ourselves. And toString is always available to any object because, like I said, it's part of the object class, and all objects inherit that method. So to call it correctly, we have to put empty parentheses at the end, like so. Now we'll put a read key to freeze the screen. So now let's compile it and run it and see what we get. And like I said, it worked, but there was a warning. So first of all, let's see what the method did. So it returned Michael Mason McMillan, which is exactly the data that we put in, as you can see right there. Let's put the cursor on it. And you can't read all of that, but it says that we need to override the keyword. The reason is that because toString is defined for the object class, when we use the method in one of our own classes, we are essentially changing the definition. And if we want to do that, we have to use a special keyword called override. Override says ignore the definition of toString that's in the object class and use the definition that's in the class you're implementing. So I override toString, and now it should work without the warning message or the green squiggly line. That should clear up as it just did. And you see it still returns the name. So we can do that with any name. Let's do one more name. Let's call it a name. And don't worry yet about that error under new name. We'll probably be able to clear that once we get, they say it cleared its own self. Ah, there's an error. I typed a colon instead of a semicolon, so let's change that. You'll notice that the editor always tries to anticipate errors, which is kind of annoying, but in the long run it's helpful because you'll see your errors way before the program runs most of the time. So now we have two names. Let's run the program, and you'll see that it displays both names. So toString is a standard method that most or all classes need to implement that allows us to return the state of an object, and that's just by returning whatever is stored in the data members of that object at the time the toString method is called. Now that we've seen how to display data, we need to look at ways to get data into and out of objects besides using just toString. toString works for displaying all the data or parts of it. But there are things called set and get methods which allow us to set the values of data members and get or return those. And we're going to look at how to implement those in the next lesson.